Welcome back to A to Z or A to Z with Aman and Zubin. I'm Aman.
And I'm the Z, Zubin. Today we're going to dive into what might just have been the best Google I/O in years, maybe ever.
You know, Zubin, I think Sundar Pichai knew this was going to be a mic drop moment. I think it was a couple of hours before they went on stage, Demis and they sent this, I think, I forget whether it was on X or on Instagram. This is going to be big picture of both of them. And I think, yeah, I think, and then so they've been, it's like a concerted effort. Sergey Brin was on All In Podcasts live a couple of weeks before or a week before. Sundar did a sit down with David Friedberg. And so and in that, I don't know if you caught that, he sort of played on the whole riff with Satya on the Make Google Dance challenge. Look, Google knew this was going to be a monster of AI announcements. I think there were about over 100 updates, all killer, no filler. What do you think, Zubin?
I'm on exactly. And I think this is really the sentiment online. The vibe on the ground was exactly that. The energy, the scale, the ambition. This just wasn't just an event. It was, in my opinion, a declaration of really like, we're still the ones to beat in AI. It was a confident, coordinated, and comprehensive response to critics. So it was pretty exciting. And as Google employees, ex-employees, I should say, or Zooglers, it definitely felt proud to be there. We talked a bit about this during the Stripe sessions, about the vibe, the scale, the magnitude. This was that, right? This is a shift from really developer deep dives to something much bigger. It really felt like that global product showcase than any dev conference.
Yeah, look, I've been, a big fan of Google I/O for years, and this was a proper flex. Now, it's really important. After the first time we did this, we took some feedback, and it was great feedback. Thank you for that. So we're back. But one of the things we want to make sure we do is we don't just do a laundry list of announcements. There's plenty of that on the web that you can watch. We wanted to go deeper on a couple of things that intrigued us both, and really bring out the sort of the detail behind some of that with you. Before we do that, I think it's really important to a quick disclaimer. As Zubin mentioned, both he and I are ex-Google. We both hold a small amount of equity in the grand scheme of things. So, take that as you will. And with that, Zubin, let's jump into your top three. What's number one?
To me, number one was Search Live. Right? Google has always been these 10 blue links. This was sort of this just showing how far Google has come from 10 blue links to this full sensory mode. This is search just not responding to you, it was talking back. For many of you who've used Google Lens in the past, you're able to point to something, it's able to give you feedback. This is taking it on steroids. This is tying it back to some of the stuff that you and I were talking about with AI mode. It's around building sort of AI and smarts into some existing capabilities around Google Lens, and then converting that into contextual real-time conversational. So for me, that was just unbelievable watching all those assets come together, and that's where the future is heading.
I think the AI mode piece was really bold of Google, right? This was, it's easy. Like when you think about established companies that have a way of working, and then to be able to disrupt that. I know that Google's sort of been and Sundar's been talking about AI first, but to be able to be disruptive to yourself in that way is really admirable. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays through. We'll talk a little bit about subscription economy as well, and I think how Google's pivoting to that. But I thought that was super bold. But number two, Zubin, what's your
number two? Yeah, no, absolutely. And my mind already went to monetization, SEO, etc. But maybe that's a different podcast in itself. Number two for me was Android XR glasses. These aren't just clunky goggles. This is like the partnership with Warby Parker. This is taking regular glasses, filling it with sensors, displays, speakers, chips, and then overlaying that all with Gemini AI. Take that search live experience I talked about, where you're able to point your camera and suddenly start interacting with it. Now put that into a form factor as your glasses, and not just any glasses. These are like just regular glasses that have been integrated. So this is really, I think, Wearables making a comeback in my opinion.
I love that feature where you could look at the floor and see the map, and then look up and see the live view. I think it's incredible. I think what's really interesting is that this is kind of like the Android of VR before the Apple of VR quote unquote, has actually been established. So it'll be interesting to see where that goes. What about number 3?
Before I get to number 3, Aman, one of the things that have amazed me about Google, these weren't just announcements with tech or cool tech. This was like really taking that cool tech and integrating into real life use cases. The announcements with Warby Parker, the AI mode within search, like it's really exciting. I think where they we're off now track, which I kind of talk against myself on that board, was Google being, this is a bit of like sci-fi really, but holy shit, I sat through a demo of this. This was a teleportation booth. There was somebody else, a Googler sitting on the other side talking to me from a completely different point, different office, etc. But that 3D view, and they had sort of this really amazing way to interact with this person and feel like that person was just sitting there. And
But
again,
here's a bit, like if I, sorry, good, I killed this.
no. I was saying it's sci-fi, but it's still real. And the way they're making it real is by the partnership with HP, that spatial presence totally reimagined.
Yeah, one thing, as you say, that occurred to me is that, and I think Google's kind of like, there's a lot of talk about, was Sundar in wartime mode as CEO? This was wartime mode, right? Like, I think where this shows at Google, you generally tend to have like things that are very heavy on product. But the fact that product and partnerships came together in this IO was awesome. It wasn't just, here, we're going to build this thing. There was a lot of like, it gets live tomorrow, and here are like the 3 partners we're working with. That's kind of like what Apple did back in the day. So I was really impressed with that piece.
Totally. And Aman, we didn't completely agree in our top 3. So what were your top 3?
Awesome. I think my the first 2, I think, were absolutely the same. I thought it was amazing what they did on those 2. It's slightly different, but sort of related. My first one, so incrementally speaking, was the whole live translate piece. I think, we've been talking about this, for 10 years with Microsoft, even with Google since the first Pixel, we talked about live translate. To see that happen is unbelievable. Like, it is game changing, changes the way humanity interacts, trades with each other. This is something that Google does exceptionally well. And I can't wait I think it was sort of slipped in there, but like this feels like a epic moment for, technology progress. Everything's couched in AI, but I think it was a massive, massive development.
And I want you're spot on. And go back to the point that we made a little earlier. It's tying that back into existing products. And while Beam is this pipe dream that's sort of built on 6 cameras and a very special screen, etc., this is going to get rolled out to Meet sometime over the summer. It's almost like having your Babelfish from Hitchhiker's Guide as a plugin in Google Meet. So the future's here. So it's pretty exciting.
How did I know you were going to mention that? Listen, the second thing for me was, I don't know how we call it. There was VO3, there was Flow, essentially studio quality video, developed in minutes, limited scripts, limited edits, full polish. I think this is going to democratize the way content's created. I've been seeing some of the videos. I wanted to make a video of Sundar doing a get jiggy with a dance, but the census kicked in. But I think in the way that Canva has totally revolutionized how people are designing content, this is going to democratize the way people make video and communicate. And again, with that translate stuff, this is dynamite.
Unbelievable. Aman, the viewers want to see that jiggy with Aman. So on
Yeah.
cue, right there, jiggy with Aman. No, I joke. But you're spot on, right? It's like that 1000x video contact at the fractional cost is going to disrupt a whole set of, agencies, marketers, educators, creators. It's there's a whole new world economy that's sort of waiting to get exploded with these technologies.
And then my third one was something that people don't talk about enough, developed actually by somebody who worked with us in Google Pay, Notebook LM. I think I love Notebook LM. It's one of my favorite go-to AI resources. With LLMs being so vast and filled with so much hallucination, the ability for you to take content that you already have and be able to upload it and get the kind of detail that I was blown away with the mind maps and then the sort of the podcast reviews of the content. But then the idea that you can actually create a video with text and all of that. I'm sure they'll do translate into that. It's just mind blowing. Can you imagine, like, people are going to be able to communicate to their managers, to communicate to their customers, their stakeholders in a visual way with video, and it's just going to be unbelievable. I can't wait. I haven't again had a chance to play around with it, but I can't wait to get my hands on that.
And I forgot to mention to you, I actually got demoed some of this, and one of the demo things was an infograph that get created out of it. I know you love infographs, so this may be the next project for us to create a little
That's true. Yeah,
infograph
we should
out
give
of
it a go. Yeah.
Amazing, amazing. But you know what didn't crack the top three and probably should have? Agentic commerce.
Yeah. Look, I think you and I are both jaded by our experience. We've seen Google flirt with commerce before and poorly. So maybe we were just being skeptical. I know it's all the rage. What did you think about the sort of the whole?
You know, I don't want to jinx it. And when we were prepping on this, we were talking about third time lucky, fourth time lucky, 10th time lucky, whatever that analogy is. I think the difference this time, which gets me excited, is that there's a set of assets coming together. Google has always been in the 10 blue links. It was always about this notion of like, how do we drive top of the funnel intent and capture that intent, clicks, etc. Google has always done with the payment side of things, where you and I were part of this journey, was like, how do you connect those dots and close the loop, so to speak, on purchases? Google has a strong asset as it relates to close to a billion odd cards on file. Google has built tremendous assets around their Google Play capabilities, now tying that all together with sort of the agentic flow of shopping and being able to bring that back right to that end state, being able to tie the payment assets together. Maybe they're going to be lucky this time, but I think I'm going to remain cautiously optimistic on this one.
I think that you alluded to it, but I think the holy grail has always been for us who've worked at Google is sort of tying intent to purchase, right? And the ability here to just complete the loop is dynamite. And I don't think people understand how hard that is to do for Google, but also how much of a game changer that is going to happen. I think, I'll bring back the other point that I was going to say. I think that two things that Google are doing there are many things it's doing that are unnatural to it, but two things that are unnatural towards it is that is this tying intent with purchase. And the other piece around this is, I don't know about it, but I saw a subtle move away from pure ad revenue. I mean, nobody talked about cloud here, incredible progress on cloud, but the fact that, you are paying for VO, you're paying for Flow, you're paying for Gemini, you're potentially paying for outcomes rather than just sort of ads. I think they're getting to a stage where, Google has, maybe, fingers crossed, a new monetization model that goes beyond ads and scales, which is through the subscription process.
You're probably right. And I think Apple has shown that model scaling. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how Google's revenue shifts away from pure ad based to other revenue sources. I'm on one thing that barely got like 5 minutes on stage. And I know it's something, as we were talking, something that you're really passionate about is quantum. Where your head on this?
I mean, I'm passionate about quantum for the simple reason that I think it's something that Google does really, really well. Is it takes these long-term bets and it really, that are technologically sort of very, very difficult to accomplish. Waymo is now starting to, materialize. And you sent me a picture of you panicking in the back of a Waymo, even though it's your 15th trip on it. But I think the quantum piece is something that this is forgive the rant here. I think Google is underrated by the street. It has become very tied to AI, but what people are not understanding is the fundamental advantage it has in quantum. I mean, let me give you an example. Right? So if you look at the price PE ratio of Google's current PE is 18, give or take. Right. The only other company that is sort of close to, Google's Meta at 24, and Apple is at 27. Microsoft's 33, Nvidia's 32, 31, 32, along with Amazon, and Tesla's at a crazy 177. Don't get that, right? But Google at 18, with the kind of technology it showcased today and the stuff that it's got coming, I think it's super underrated. I also, Freudian slip. Sundar Pichai's got like a lot of flack, and I think he deserves a lot of credit after this IO. I mean, I went in, I'll just tell you, I went and asked, I deliberately asked ChatGPT, not Gemini, but I said, how much incremental ARR has Sundar added? And the answer to that is he's added $284 billion of ARR since he became CEO in 2015. Put that in context, that's more than Tim Cook, who became CEO 4 years before him. Tim Cook added 277 billion, not small. And Satya Nadella, who could, compare him with so much, who joined, essentially around the same time as Sundar a year before him, $149 billion. So Sundar has really, and Google, I think, really showed and an amazing company that they are. And yeah, it was a really powerful display of Google. I'm really glad they did that fine.
Yeah, I think, Aman, what we're sort of, sometimes you get caught up in the flow of things and announcements, etc. I think as you and me were talking about this, AI is that sprint, quantum is that marathon. And Google's already running both these, but to your point, everyone's focused on the sprint while Google's making huge strides on that the quantum leap.
Yeah, 100%. What else? There was one more IO, wasn't there?
Exactly. And this one was, again, coincidence, correlation, timing. Jony Ive's 6.5 billion acquisition, I guess, OpenAI acquisition of Jony Ive's IO startup, a year-old startup, 55-ish employees. I'm pretty excited about this. And I think the future of hardware is not phones, it's not laptops, it's not stuff. Going back to my excitement about the glass, the Google Glass, or the Android XR glasses, that's where the future is going. That's where the world is sort of, what are the new form factors that are yet to be seen or yet to be come out? Google's already paving the way, tying in through partnerships. I'm excited to see. So again, will OpenAI be the next sort of Apple, so to speak, in the space? Hard to say, but to me, this is a signal that the world is going to be investing. The future is something that's not the device that we hold today.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was amazing seeing Jony Ive back on, back in prime time. It was a bit odd, that video, like the meet cute between him and Sam Altman. I don't think he and Steve Jobs professed their love for each other as vividly. But I think
Proper
this
romance.
also, I think this also highlights the fact that the strength that it highlights the strength that Google has in terms of the ecosystem, in terms of access to devices through Android, etc. I really think that this is really important. I don't know. There's a lot of speculation on what that device is. Is it a pair of glasses that Jony was wearing? Is it a pendant that Sam had on? Or something much more profound. But I do think that it will take a massive device kind of development for a company to catch up with where Google is right now, because they really sort of laid the smackdown on that one. The one company that should be kind of worried about this is Apple, right? I mean, we talked about its multiple. We talked about AI being sort of behind. They've had I posted on this yesterday. They've never underestimate Apple and Tim Cook, but they've had a really tough couple of months. And it'll be interesting to see WWDC, and I think it's in 2 weeks' time, and where they come out on that one.
I think that's
Are you going to WWDC as well?
Unfortunately not. Unfortunately not.
Crap. So we don't have an episode.
Maybe we can sue from the sidelines.
Yeah. So do you want to have a final word before we wrap?
You know what? We're just getting started. I think that's the exciting thing about being in the Valley. People were like, the Valley's dead in terms of sort of innovation, etc. And I think it's moments like these that kind of remind me that while, yes, there's tons of innovation happening around the world, there's still, now the Valley is still sort of where some of that innovation is coming through. So I'm excited to be here.
I think this IO wasn't just about product velocity. It was about just like coordinated ambition, from search to presence, from video to wearables. Google showed up.
Yeah. And let us know what caught your eye, right? Like, this was our observations and our rants and riffs. But what caught your eye? What are you excited about? What are you excited about trying out, buying, using? Let us know.
Until next time, this is A to Z with Aman and Zubin. Stay curious, stay sharp, stay agentic.